What is it you like to talk about?
My patient. Hi. I know you're nervous. I just want to have a chat.
I'm seeing something no one else can see except for me. It's smiling at me. Oh my God!
Okay, in the future, if I ever come across someone that just smiles like they do in this movie, you're either going to get punched or kicked in the face, or I'm going to sprint away from you as far as I can. Because no. Just no. Okay, so little background. This movie, I saw the poster for it and I was like, okay, I don't know what this is. Then I saw the trailer for it. And the trailer for it, it looked interesting, but this reminded me a lot of Blumhouse's Truth or Dare, where it was every time they're asked Truth or Dare, they have like a stupid smile on their face. And it reminded me so much of that I was thinking to myself, yeah, I don't know about this. So I kept my expectations a bit low on this one. I never go into a movie wanting to hate it. I never go into a movie thinking about like, this is going to be terrible, because then I'm not giving it anything. I'm not being fair to it. So I walked into this completely, with no hate towards it, because I haven't seen it. So I was pleasantly surprised on how good this actually was. So this movie is about a woman who is a therapist who works in a mental hospital treating mental patients. And one day, I believe it was a college student, comes in and says that there is this entity that I'm the only one that can see it. And it basically, it smiles. It pretty much like takes the form of a person, whether it be a complete stranger or a close friend or even a family member. And it just smiles at you. And so it's like, oh, okay. But what happens is they find out that it's actually a curse and that no one has lived, I think it was 4 to 7 days. So I'm thinking, okay, this is kind of like It Follows meets The Ring. And that's pretty much the basis of it. There's more I would like to talk about, but can't, because that could be a potential spoiler. But this movie, it very much was like It Follows meets The Ring, where it's like where with It Follows, it's a shape-shifting entity that only the person who is cursed can see it, and if it gets anywhere near you and actually comes to contact with you, then you die. And then with The Ring, it's the whole cursed videotape thing where once you watch it, you have 7 days and then you'll die. It's kind of a mixture of those two movies, but it does some things differently, and I liked it for that. The first thing I'll say is the first 30 some odd minutes, they do some jump scares, and some of them work, some of them don't. But this was also a slow-paced movie, and I think with slow-paced movies, they actually work better. And I was quite surprised that this was a very slow-paced, scary movie, because then you can build up as you go along, and then once stuff hits, it actually hits you pretty hard. That's what I've always thought horror movies should be, not like you're just going to throw a loud sound. And when they do the loud sounds in this movie, they actually work. because there were so many times during this movie that I was going like, okay, here's going to be a part where they're going to play a loud sound. No. Okay, bam, it hits you. And so it catches you off guard because you're kind of waiting for just that loud, whether it be like a loud frying pan to drop or a cat being thrown across the screen, anything regarding a jump scare. But this movie, you used it very effectively. The cinematography, so there's some parts where that they were cool. Some parts where I'm like, okay, that was, that's like typically shot like that. So the cinematography is nothing to like really like be like, oh, it's not like Roger Deakins or like anything like that. It's like, dude, that was just amazing piece of that was just an amazing frame. So the director of this is Parker Finn, who also wrote it, and has two other things to his name. He has the Hide Behind in 2018 and Laura Hasn't Slept from 2020. From what I can tell, this is not only his first studio film, but probably his first full-length film. So, yeah. But I think honestly, it was really surprisingly good. The acting is very believable. You start feeling bad because you're just like, with these like curse type films where only one person can see it and they're trying to tell people like, yeah, this is real. It gives that sense of hopelessness, even though it's like your family and they're looking at you thinking that you're crazy. It gives that feeling of hopelessness. Like you can't trust anybody, but also with this entity, it can look like anybody. So you feel very alone. So you pretty much can only trust some people. And even with those people, you can't really trust. So it's like you have to just be confident within yourself on who you want to trust. And I've always liked that. Very much like the sense of hopelessness, like there's no one to trust. And I think that works pretty well if you do it right. And this movie does it right. And the acting too. The acting too is really good. The main actress, I forget her name, but I like how she's playing, a not only a professional one because she's a therapist, but even in that, she's like, maybe this professionalism, it's not kicking in because sometimes you just can't be professional when you're dealing with something like an invisible entity that can shapeshift into anybody and try to kill you. So this curse, it ends up passing down. I'm only going to say a little bit about it because I don't want to give it away too much, but it passes down. Not by like It Follows, where it involves a person and then they have a sexual encounter and then it passes on that way. This one, it involves murder. So that's all I'll say. But around the end of the movie, they were doing something where I'm like, okay, I kind of see where this is going. And then they do something, I'm not going to say what, but they do something that I was going, oh, you didn't really need to do that. Okay. Like, I don't get why you did that. And then it's like, it's going one way. And then I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I don't think this is going to end like that or anything like that. And then it doesn't. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. And then they then bring that thing that I didn't like back. But then the last like 2 minutes of this movie, oh man, I was legitimately sitting in the theater, and when it happened, I was like, okay, that is screwed up. That's messed up. And it's just the way they did it. And so the whole point of this entity is it wants to grow bigger. And at the end of like 4 or 7 days between that time, it then kills the person that it's cursed. But it says like it somehow gets in their head. It does, but I'm not going to say how, because you just need to see it. Because, oh my God. I was not expecting what they did, and then especially after it happened, it's like, oh, that's the end. It's like, oh, okay. See, and then that then sold me. Where I was going, okay, I'm liking this, I'm liking this, I'm liking this, and then they pulled that one thing, and I was like, okay, why'd you do that? And then when they did that, it then made me change, like, okay, that thing I was talking about, I regret that I said that. I now get it. Okay, you're fine. So a movie like this, where I always like when I see trailers for movies and they don't really do it for me, because I'm looking at it like movies that did this sort of concept in the past, and it's like, okay, why are you doing this? Like, I don't understand why they're just doing this again. Maybe this can be more successful, maybe not. Maybe this can be good, maybe this could be better, like from previous attempts, or maybe it could be worse than previous attempts. This one, I mean, the whole, like I said in the beginning of this, Truth or Dare did it. This one just beats that movie up. This movie was generally surprising on how good it was. It legitimately, it creeped me out at moments. And I was pleasantly surprised on how good this was. So I always like surprises. I always like seeing like trailers, and it's like, okay, this looks okay, but all right, I'll see it with an open mind, and then actually do see it. And it's like, wow, that was way better than I thought it would be. So I always like that. This gets a great. It would have gotten an average if the movie didn't end the way it did. But because it did, and gave you just a slap in the face, and was just like, hey, we don't care if you don't like these kind of endings, but we're just going to throw this at you because we don't care. So if it didn't have the ending it did, it would have gotten an average. I still would have liked it. But because it did, I was like, yeah, you knocked it out of the park. So this gets a great. And just this, it's kind of on my best of movies, which is just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which is going to be more difficult. But yeah, like I said in the beginning of this, if you like come to me and just smile like in this movie, then you're going to get punched. So just no offense, but just beware of that. And that also goes out. So if you just see someone just smiling around you, whether it be like down the street or even to market this movie at a baseball game, yeah, you are going to get punched in the face.
I'm just really scared that something bad is going to happen.
Rose.